Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Thank you very much for being here on this corner of the interwebs where we talk about tabletop role playing games in science fiction settings. And today we're going to talk about piracy versus war. And um, let's start this up front. I think piracy, or rather everything other than space wars, um, is such rich mine fuel for us to pull from that I think sometimes we're leaving it on the table. So I'm going to make the case that in the far future, even in a dystopian Mad Max style futuristic space conflict kind of arena, that piracy is probably at the pinnacle of harm to other people rather than war. So let me get into it. Yeah, yeah. For those who don't know, there is a tabletop role-playing game being developed here, science fiction, hard sci-fi. So what I feel like I take from the community. So when we talk about these things, down in the doobly-doo below, there's going to be a D12 list. So each time we go live with one of these speculative kind of fictional things, there'll be a D12 list below. And if we establish enough of these little D12 lists, we might be able to combine them together or whatnot. And then you could just steal it because it's right there. And I thought I would place a couple of like story hooks, maybe things we hadn't thought about when it comes to piracy versus war. And so let's talk a little bit big. Yeah. First of all, let's thank you guys for bringing in the brilliance here. Yeah, remember the Shite Squad says pirates want fuel, oxy, and water for survival. Yeah, you can make a Mad Max style existential cycle of futility. Yes, very much so. I mean, my argument for piracy, and when I say piracy, of course, we in our sometimes in our minds we think arg, swinging from, I don't know, buckling swashes or whatever. But what I really mean, and I'm using piracy as a catch-all phrase, is everything other than pure destruction. So theft, robbery, hostage taking, stealing of resources, threats, extortion, all of that is I'm putting into the bundle of piracy. And then war is pure destruction on its other end. Yeah, Taste of Banat says it's also realistic. Piracy was how they used to fight wars back in the privateer era. And that's exactly where my mind was going, is that we think of pirates as being these independent ruffians on the high seas, and of course this is science fiction, that they would be in these beat up starships going around. No. Privateers back in the age of sail, or what we might call proxy warring today, where we get a third party to threaten resources of our enemies, to disrupt the machine that might be working very fine on our adversaries. And privateers were basically hired pirates to go after other people to basically steal their stuff and then sell it back to them at a higher rate, or take it for yourself. So, I'm gonna leave this comment up here. And so let's start out with one thing that we've joked about on this channel, half joking about it. We see in science fiction where we have an individual passes away and we have a heartfelt funeral as the individual is wrapped up, maybe placed into a pod of some sort, and out the airlock they go as we speak words of contrition and atonement. But unfortunately, the reality of that is every time you dump something in space, any physical object in space, it becomes a high velocity, dare I say, subliminal object of impact. Either you impact it or impacts you, or some such. Now, I understand that the definition of the Kessler syndrome has a specific meaning, but I feel like Kessler, I don't know, you call it the Kess or something like that in science fiction, would probably be a problem when you have too much war. So a descriptor, after looking it up, says the Kessler syndrome is a phenomenon in which the amount of junk in orbit around Earth reaches a point where it just creates more and more space debris causing big problems for satellites, astronauts, and mission planners. Um, and I feel like in a intergalactic society that the Kessler syndrome around a planet isn't your only problem. I think just having a space war of any significant amount is going to create debris that could create a cascading effect to create more debris, even if it's not around a planet. And of course, we all know that there's no such thing as zero gravity, that every stellar object is pulling on every other stellar object. And whether it's in a few hours, months, years, tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, and plus, every gravitational object is going to pull other gravitational objects. And in our own solar system, thankfully, we have Jupiter. Jupiter is a big vacuum cleaner. And yeah, Caligula says, clouds of corpuscles flying around in space. Why would anyone want to prevent that? You're a little dark there, Caligulus. you have a little bit of a dark streak in you, but yes, I think that I do understand that placing one deceased individual in space isn't really going to have that much of an impact. But we all know you do something once. No sense in doing something once when you can perform the exact wrong thing 1,000 times over. And having great galactic wars at the end of like 15, we've seen the images, 15 starships against 38 other starships, and they blast each other. We even have starships like flying through other starships as they blast them in the smithereens and stuff. And all that debris is just going to not only impact the entire battle arena, but it's going to be left there. And that stuff is probably flying at pretty high velocity out into other places in space. Now, what are the chances of dropping a wrench or a screwdriver into space and it impacting somebody before it falls into an orbit and burns up or gets sucked up into a gas planet? It's probably a greater chance of that happening. But you keep doing the thing, and like Kessler syndrome happens, once the Kessler syndrome starts, it keeps creating a cascading effect where it creates more debris and even more debris. So a great space battle could take out satellites around a planet, which that debris then starts circulating around the planet, which then impacts other starships trying to leave the gravitational well or create impacting space habitats. And then a space habitat goes down into the atmosphere and so on. And I feel like this is a great storytelling element so that in your game, if you want to have far more piracy, well, the reason for it is because after the first or second or third Great War, everyone's like, we need to cut this shit out like it's worthless. Also, how many resources, and we know, like here in the United States, we've put billions and billions and billions of dollars to build up our military. So wasting money isn't really an issue. It's the waste of resources. So how many of these giant ass starships and all the fighters and satellites and habitats would you make just to place them in a position to be destroyed is a real waste of resources. Not when you can take those resources, from someone else, where you have these big blobs of oxygen and water and fuel and technology and weapons and data that is sitting in front of you. So stealing that, these are, using today's values, these would be multi-trillion-dollar vessels floating in space right for the taking. So you don't have to go invest in the same thing. So yeah. Deadman says any real life space inhabiting society would need trashmen in a garbage ship. Yep. Flying around, picking up all the random debris to reduce the Kesslerization of the system. Ooh, Kesslerization. Got to put that on a t-shirt, which I actually have t-shirt ideas. But yeah, you're absolutely right there, Deadman. I mean, maybe the trashmen of the system is more, dare I say, would be more valuable, or the cost effect analysis of being a trashman versus being a soldier would be like, hey, listen, all I'm doing is picking up trash and I'm making big bank. Actually, today, as we speak, there are companies that go around, and whenever we have these major storms, hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, what's a tornado at sea? Is it a hurricane? Anyway, there are companies that go around and there are salvage rights for ships that sink or what have you. And if anyone remembers the Costa, oh, I forgot the name. It's what the there's a whole documentary made about the retrieval of the cruise ship that ran aground in Italy or off an island of Italy. And yeah, yeah. Speaking of piracy, there would have to be space Greenpeace too. Yeah, and I don't think recycling and trashman in space is like an echo. Like I don't. Yes, there would be people who are just like it's just great for the survival of the ecosphere of space. Yeah, there would be those people that are up high in the sky, don't leave trash wherever you go. But I think just money wise, there are going to be people who are like, great, there was a big war. I'm going to go collect those starship engines, fix them up a little bit, sell them back for half price, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Costa Concordia. Thank you there, just a passerby. Thank you for passing by there, passer. Yeah, Obsidian is too realistic for space whales. No, no, yeah, no space whales in this game. Yeah. And Palace says, and then chaotic evils going after the space garbage men. Yep. Now, I'm not saying there would be zero destruction. Come on, you're going to have your psychos out there, but I could, I could, I could imagine that a faction that is very destructive could have all the other factions of space going after them. Like, listen, you're making it bad for all of us out here in space. So you really don't want to do that. Yeah, tornado at sea is called a water spout. I was thinking because I live on the very edge of I'm in the Ohio Valley, so I'm at the edge of Tornado Alley, and I've got family that lives in um, northeast Texas. They live in Frisco, in a place called Little Elm. It's like the beginning of Tornado Alley, kind of. They get a lot of hail and wind and rain as the tornadoes start to pick up speed and rip its way across the U.S. And then we get high winds. We get derechos and other high wind effects, and we still get every Wednesday noon. We still have our tornado sirens going off. Parents Surprise says, I've seen a Korean movie about scrapers, yeah, scavengers that had as a job to clean space debris. Yeah, there is a movie, Netflix, I want to say. I haven't seen the movie, but yeah. Shai says there would have to be space dustmen too, in the planescape sense, of course. Yep. People who are just living on the edges. Now, beyond the trashmen, because I think there's some great storytelling elements of this, like players playing these trashmen that scavenge from I'm going to say ancient wars, but they don't have to be that ancient. I mean, Warhammer 40K's got the handle on like the eternal wars and all the side effects of that. But even in hard science fiction, there would still be scavengers fighting over the scraps to sell, big chunks of starships to other people. Space sweepers, yes. Okay, let's pull an image of this of a space sweeper 2021 film. Let's get some images here. And pull. So I feel like there's as far as space piracy goes, there are some intricacies we can play with when it comes to the space pirates. For example, just not too long ago, I think it was the End King mentioned this. I could be mistaken, but anyway, a member of our co-hosts, because all of you guys that are live here are co-hosts, mentioned that there could be gentlemen spacers, meaning like they board a ship or they disable a starship, they get the crew off in a nice way, like hey guys, listen, get in the pods or we're going to drop you off somewhere. We're going to take your ship. Oh no doubt, we're going to take you. And yeah, we're doing it under gun, but we're not going to kill your crew. We're just going to leave you stranded or disabled or in a life pod or something like that. So there could be space pirates that are not necessarily space barbarians, right? They could have a little bit of there could be rules of sorts in collecting trash and space debris and theft and robbery in space. This could very well just be a type of like, all right, guys, hey, listen, Just to let you know, we are going to board your ship and we are going to take your stuff. But remember, yeah. Now, I don't remember a game called Privateer. Your space libertarians create a Kessler cloud around their home moon so the space government will leave them alone, man. Man, that's pretty funny. You know what? That's a great idea. Could you imagine like oh, there's like 5 derelict starships, around the moon. Why don't they take them? And the people were there like, stay away, or we'll we have a all we have is our finger on the button, and we will just create like a Kessler syndrome like explosion or something if you try to get any closer. And it's like, oh shoot. So you're right. Yeah, you get a nice sizable moon with enough gravity. Maybe people are actually specifically trying to dump debris, or maybe it's some kind of like isolated, insular, kind of incestuous space hab that's doing some pretty horrendous things to their population. Or you get like an Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos type of person who owns like a space hab on the moon, and they're like, I want to keep everybody here for myself, and creates a self-propelled Kessler cloud around their moon, that every time someone tries to go in and rescue these people from being like, think you guys think of some deviant behaviors you could do to people who can't escape a space hab with a megalomaniac and their, I don't know, robot artificial army. Yeah. The game was called Freelancer. Okay, let's look that up. Deadman says there could be Surya-morphs. Okay. Giant space whales designed to live in the corona of the sun. Now, that's this. Deadman, you're kind of, I see you segueing a little bit. We're going to have to talk about the extremes of super hard sci-fi, Expanse, talking about the Expanse and Obsidian Star that we're working on, and the other extreme, the space opera, and like the idea of having like the idea of space whales and eldritch horrors, Lovecraftian horrors that live out in the deeps of space, if they live that far, or does something like that exist? Could there be genetic manipulation that gets out of control to make those things? Or is that a little bit, does that, do giant eldritch horrors or genetically created trash absorbing space whales, does that break their immersion a little bit? I don't know. You guys have to think about that for yourselves and wonder. Although, to be honest with you, let's be honest with Eclipse Phase, because I've got my Eclipse t-shirt. It came in the mail. Hey, I am going to see the eclipse up in North Ohio, in Cleveland, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But anyway, yeah, we'll have, that's going to be a subject. We got to talk about that too. Like, how far do we think genetic modification could go, or go out of control before it's like, do we want Earth filled with dinosaurs, or is that a little bit too far? Shai says Jim Jones. For those who know, we talked about Jim Jones before. Yeah, Space Jim Jones cult on Kessler Cloud Libertarian Island, and your mission is to get there and in there and stop them. I love that idea. I love it. And how cheap would it be for some I don't know, some narcissistic megalomaniac to do that, with surrounded by fanatics for some kind of cult or something? It'd be pretty easy to do that, to just create a bunch of space debris, and everyone's like, we got to save those people. How do we get there? Which also brings up the idea of, in a piracy over war type of environment, what's valuable? And right at the very top, right? Because I put that in the doobly-doo before, fuel, oxy, and water for survival, right? I mean, maybe they're just people out in space that are, listen, you're going to need the oxygen. Well, technically it's oxygen and mostly nitrogen, maybe some like carbon dioxides and things like that. But you need to breathe. You're going to need water as a organic lubricant, and you need fuel, whatever kind of fuel you have for your space game, whether it's dilithium crystals, in Obsidian Star, it's ice fire engines where they burn they separate water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then burn it through magnetic bottle effect. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whole point is, are you burning energy from black holes? Do you have fusion or fission engines? It doesn't matter. You're going to need fuel to get through space, and stealing people's fuel to pop from place to place is a pretty good idea for piracy, right? Even giant military complexes really want to get some fuel from their enemies. Even today, stealing the supplies and disrupting the supply chains is even more vital than going pew-pew on your enemy, right? I mean, that's the cool part. That's the cool thing that looks cool, where, firing torpedoes and lasers and other kinds of things at your enemies. But hey, disrupting resource lines and just waiting out your enemy till they like starve to death or can't breathe, or they're dehydrated, or they can't fuel their starships, then you just tiptoe right past them and get to wherever you need to go. So disrupting the mechanisms that bring resources, again, theft and piracy, whether it's going after comet wranglers, or literally firing, instead of having like lasers and blasting other ships, they're like disruption mechanisms that slice off bits of other people's ships or disrupt their ability to use it. I can even imagine torpedoes wouldn't necessarily impact other ships, but would like attach to other ships to disrupt their maneuverability, or cut holes into ships and suck out the oxygen, or cut holes into the fuel pods and pluck them off like grapes, or something like that. I bet there would be a lot of those kind of things. Electromagnetic pulse weapons that disrupt communications and the ability to control different aspects of starships, just so pirates can come by, attach to someone's ship, or use a lot of in a complex dance of drones to cut each other's ships and pieces off of it and stuff. Yeah, Caligula says you could simply have a Jim Jones space cult creating eldritch horrors on its secret island out of real people. Yeah, totally Obsidian compatible. Yeah, nasty. A lot of body horror, right? Hey, you 12, you don't want to be part of the cult? We're gonna dump you in a pit, throw some extra genetic modifying spice, shake for 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden, like, some multi-eyed, multi-limbed thing comes spilling out of it, half ooze, half people screaming in horror as their bodily organs are on the outsides of their bodies and things like that. Yeah. Taste but out says real people are eldritch horrors. Yeah. The stuff that goes up in the dark regions of our brain is more horrible, I think, than some of the things we've actually seen and could see. So Drew says, black holes, do you want to get Event Horizon? That's how you get Event Horizon. You make it. I'm just imagining, where did that come from? Oh, there's a line like that in a movie, like, black holes, that's how you get Event Horizon. Yeah, you're gonna have to get that one crew member that just looks deep into the black hole and is driven insane as what is it? If you look into the abyss stares right back at you. Yeah. Oh man, that would be pretty horrible as well. Just being driven insane being isolated out in space is what I'm talking about. Yeah. You're a space freelancer, and pirates going after you are the space government tax collectors. Ooh, hey, for those who don't know, the role playing game Traveler is like that. Yeah, let's see if we can get some images of Traveler, a classic. This role playing game is classic, and people to this day still love themselves some Traveler. Oops, I don't want to do that. We're not going to do that. Sorry, just trying to get ourselves a little image of up here. There we go. Share ourselves some Traveler. Do yourself a favor. Find some videos or podcasts that talk about Traveler. I believe it's a 2d6 system with a 2d6 plus some modifiers, I believe. It's from Archer and about ants in the original. Yeah, it's like that's how you get. Yeah, space caltrops. Yeah, we want Event Horizon corpuscles to use as space caltrops. Dump the dead bodies. Liberte to eme ex infanis. Event Horizon. Yeah, and I don't remember what that means. Liber. Mm, I my old Latin roots are failing me from space. Yeah, Deadman says like the ex-humans of Eclipse phase making leftover specials and limb walkers to terrify people trying to rescue their prisoners. Just for terrorism's sake, that's nasty. I like that. I mean, could you imagine like, oh, save yourself from hell? I know liberate, save yourself from hell. You know, the idea of specifically creating eldritch horrors to use as a terroristic technique. Like, could you imagine like a space hab? Get yourself a nice utopian space hab. People, there's parks, maybe it's light gravity. So there's people in like air suits or like bicycle style powered gliders or something. And all of a sudden, the naked underneath the pure bleached robes of a cult walk into the center of the park. And people are looking at them, the dozen individuals there, like, hey, what's going on? And they all pull out a vial with some black liquid inside, and the liquid seems to be moving on its own. And they pop the stopper, drink the liquid, scarf it down, and then black ooze starts filling their eyes, pouring out of their ears and nose and mouth. And then, of course, we got to have chest bursting. And then their body starts to morph and things. It starts to like their bodies break apart. Their organs are alive on their own, and they start trying to like absorb other people in the space hab. That would be what a great opening for like some kind of horrific styled. All right, PCs, you got to go in there and save the survivors, right, or something like that, or whatever. Rescue mission, and everyone's like, not with all that black sludge popped up against the outside of that dome. Yeah. Yeah, that could be the first city adventure module. You want to write it or should I? Yeah. I did add, of course, not at the speed that I'd like to, but I'll show towards the end of this broadcast, I'll show you some new stuff that I've added into the Obsidian Star Dock. Drew says, I would be careful with creating space horrors. You might end up creating the reason for humanity to unite, like in Watchmen. Yep. Which was, for spoiler alert for those who don't know the graphic novel and the movie of Watchmen. Yeah, one giant event unites the Earth, even if it was a lie, or not. Well, technically, it wasn't a lie. It was the premise of the lie was wrong, but everyone was united under one thing, which kind of makes that's a good reason. What a great way to create an orbit for a storyline to come around, that the PCs are fighting against a thing that they know will unite humanity, but the individual that created the situation in the first place is horribly evil. And do they stop the thing, or do they let humanity unite under the banner of a pretty devious side effect? Yeah. But anyway, do yourself a favor for Traveler, one of the few role-playing games where you can die in character creation. There's a little bit of a risk reward in creating a character, and you roll for events in your life, and you can keep rolling. But if you get certain outcomes as you create your character, some of those outcomes you could actually die in character creation. So it's a risk reward character creation system. It's really weird that it even exists. It's like, what would be the point? But it's known for that, so it's pretty ridiculous. Okay, so other things that could happen in a piracy kind of situation is extortion. So instead of having galactic war and blasting things out of space, and instead of just, hey, we're pirates, we're going to steal your stuff, it could be extortion in the terms of, we could blast you out of space and we could steal your stuff. We're not going to do it if you give us something else. So an example would be, like pirates or privateers, more likely, would go after. Let me pick something. The Jove, the Jupiter is a giant gravity well, and it's good for slingshotting starships. Maybe there's a criminal organization that when if ships don't pay a toll, or the faction that controls the starships don't pay a toll, what they do is they disable the ships as an extorting of situation. Like if you want to use a Jupiter as a slingshot, you can, but you owe us something. Otherwise, we'll steal your stuff. Um, Organized crime, right? Hey, pay us protection money, right? You love your pizzeria, would be happy if it didn't burn down. We'll send somebody by for you to pay your insurance rates, right? You know what I mean? $400 a week, we'll be by, and it's that kind of thing. So it could be kind of an extortion. Like we all know we don't want destruction, but we're willing to do it, even if it does create a bit of a Kessler effect. Although Jupiter is a high gravity location, so maybe if it gets just sucked up into the into the gaseous cloud planet, maybe they don't care, or it's a thing that they're like, it's the risk we're willing to take. You know, the proverbial, I brought a grenade to a gunfight, and it's like, yeah, I'm willing to pull the pin on this thing, and let's see what happens, you know. Yeah, except you create space horrors out of real people and not giant brain squids. Don't worry, a bunch of space freakazoids won't be enough to unite humanity. Just a few of them, right? If it's something that goes like planetary wide, even, or something that keeps spreading from hab to hab, I could see that. If we're multi-planet, I could see people on Mars kind of ignoring what's happening on Earth, even if it is destructive. Like if Earth nuked itself into like primordial soup, I think people on Mars would be like, well, it sucks for them. You know. Yeah, Drew says, I only made once a character in Traveler, ended up over 40 at some forsaken outpost with most of life having spent there and nothing really happened. It was boring. Wow. That's rare. Yeah, because when you make a character in Traveler, you age along you keep aging. So you have like your early life, and then your early, young adulthood, and then middle age, and things like that. So you keep going up in age for your character, and you get more skills. So it's a randomized effect. You get the opportunity to pick more skills based on where your life path goes. And so yeah. You get older in Traveler. Now, mind you, Traveler's bat was made in, wow, maybe the 80s, mid 80s or something. So you know, space, what would be a rationale for it? Life extension may not have been included in the game. I don't remember. I mean, there's a lot of, it's been around so long that there's whole podcasts and sections of the interwebs devoted to Traveler, but it's great. Drew says Mutant Chronicles had much more interesting life paths as character creation, and there were plenty of my characters that died during creation. Also, it feels closer to Obsidian Star. Yeah, I thought about creating a life path kind of thing, maybe not so much tied to what you could, more choice than randomness. I think would be the best way to describe it. But I've thought about it. And listen, if you get a bunch of D12 dice going and you getting in the roll, it would be kind of fun. Some other things that would happen, kind of fun in. You would need to find a space proctologist. Ouch. Ow. Oh, terrible, but maybe. Some other piracy adjacent things would be, much like piracy here on Earth, the only reason to even have piracy, especially like towards and around like Somalia and the Suez Canal and places like that, different places where there is piracy happening on the open seas here, is that there's an economy for it. So pirates taking stuff and stealing things would have to have a place to sell and trade the ill-gotten gains that they have, including the crew that they may capture or kidnap or take somewhere as well. So if you have pirates and privateers, you're going to have black market places to trade that stuff. So it could be lone moons and asteroids and things like that, where things are fuel, oxygen, water is hidden. You may have, dare I say, like the Caribbean was for during the age of sail. Maybe there's like a archipelago of locations that everybody knows piracy is going on, but nobody wants to disrupt it. Much like red light districts are on Earth, where you have um, human trafficking and prostitution and drugs and gambling and drug sales and things like that. There's this unwritten rule that you need to have a blow off valves for decadent behavior, so that there's a place for that behavior to go, so other neighborhoods and things like that can thrive and claim that they're pure. So there may be a place in space, I don't know. Let's go back to the Jove, right? Maybe there's a, a moon or a Trojan asteroid, or I don't know, an L5 trailing gravity location from Saturn or whatever. There may be one or more of these places that, yeah, most of the factions in the system know exactly what's going on, but they benefit from the thing going on because they can always claim that, well, we're not the ones doing it, they're doing it. But if we go and send some kind of space marines to go and destroy them, it's going to ruin the very thing that helps us. So everyone, turns a blind eye, much like selling weapons to various nations, or again, having proxy nations perform things that we don't want to do. I'm looking at you, Turkey, for the country of Turkey from here, United States. Like, thanks for doing stuff that we don't want to do, right? Or we want to claim we don't do here. That kind of behavior could happen in space, and I think that would be awesome as well. Maybe players have to go undercover, or players themselves or black marketeers, and go to these places to uncover locked data cores, black boxes that couldn't be broken, but they have to retrieve them from the starships that were stolen. And all they really need is the black box. They don't need the ship itself, but they may need to negotiate or do a heist, some kind of heist, or threaten, or do a run and gun, steal something to get out of there, out of this black marketplace. Players may need to wheel and deal with people that are seedy and they don't like them, but hey, our starship is low on fuel or oxygen or water. There could be good people doing bad things for a good reason. Maybe there are space habs that need oxygen and water just to survive, and the larger, more corporate, capitalist, fascist kind of governments won't help out these small habs because it's not worth their trouble. So the small habs are making deals with the pirates, like, listen, we've got people here will work for you and things like that. If you give us, we just need a 5% bump in our oxy thing. I don't know, whatever. They're making deals, and these small habs might be the places where the pirates are able, or they're recruited from in the first place, and saying, hey, I need look, as a pirate, you're like, look, I made a deal. I want 3 fuel pods and 2,000 tons of water to take back to my people. And they go, you know what? You were great on this mission. Go ahead and take that back to your people. And those people might be on, a distant moon circling Saturn, just to waiting it out because they need to get, fresh oxygen and water for their people. And that Taste of Benassi sounds like real world adrenochrome harvesters, procurement agents for the NWO. Now, okay, your phrasing made me think of people harvesting DNA. Now, I know in reality, like, there are preppers who, I'm sorry, my brain is going. We know that there are television shows about preppers, and there are different categories of preppers. And one type of prepper is a seed prepper, or I guess you could call them DNA preppers. And DNA preppers are ones who want to get as many different divergent bits of DNA based on life, so that if we ever get any kind of like virus or war or nuclear or atomic, something that destroys genetic material, there's more of it. Now, mostly it's with plants, having dozens of different types of corn and wheat and rice and potatoes and the seeds of life, the nutrients, the base nutrients and carbohydrates we need for life, having as many variations of fruits and veggies that we can get. Because if you have a mono, if you become mono-sized in the DNA, it's too easy for it to be vulnerable to diseases and things like that. The same thing goes maybe for human beings and humanity. Yeah, DNA preppers. Let's see if I can find some. Where's that? Let's see if I can find a thing. Forums. Preppers. Seed U.S. preppers seed saving. So, and this is just a very real quick type of divergent here. So seed saving. Be prepared, not scared. And as you can see just in this image alone, you can see different types of seeds. And I couldn't name all of them. I think I see black-eyed peas. I see corn, peas themselves, regular peas, maybe some dried pinto beans. I see flower seeds, whatever, and making seed banks. So there are preppers, specific preppers, that are all about saving seeds. And the reason for saving those seeds is because of the possibility of like droughts and maybe a virus that spreads across crops and things of that nature. So that is a specific type of prepper amongst people who prep for the survival of humanity and themselves. So yeah. Yeah, sounds like good old garden variety libertarians. Yep. Yeah. But there might be people who are out there collecting DNA from people themselves. Dare I say, just like where's the comment here? Here, Shitlords mentions, hey, you would need to find space proctologists. There might be pirate. I'm gonna type this in. Pirate OBGYNs. Yeah. There might, I mean, that sounds absolutely horrible, but there may be people going out. The piracy itself might be to save, in their own cultish thoughts, that they are out there to save humanity by by collecting 23andMe from various individuals out in humanity, so that we have enough genetic divergence to keep humanity going, because we keep committing suicide by beaming our brains from our cortical stacks, our zippers, into new bodies somewhere, right? And yeah, DNA preppers pretending they're going to save humanity, and then they start churning out eldritch horrors. That too. Hey, they got to dump their mistakes somewhere. Listen, I mean, it sounds cool that we might breed out things like, for me, using me as an example, breeding out shortness, because I'm only like 5'6", breeding out heavy weight. So I've been lost weight like 22 pounds, and I keep going. I'm getting there. But heavy, shortness, bad eyesight, diabetes, high cholesterol, blood pressure, little things like that humanity may be breeding out of our DNA, but there may be people trying to save that just to keep us genetically viable, so that we have a constant churn of, how we hear about people like the pure race individuals that that are into eugenics and things of that nature. That's actually the worst thing you can do. Dogs that are mutts live a lot longer and a lot healthier than pure breed animals that always have tend to fall towards um, genetic problems. They're predisposed to certain genetic problems. Yeah, they say politician DNA so that humanity will never be without villains. Oh, that's funny. I love that. I love that as well. Yeah, yeah. You also need space politicians to hire the space privateers. Yep. Yeah, wouldn't be piracy without somebody to hire them to do it in the first place. Guess we are going to talk about Gattaca now. Well, you know what? Gattaca's got to listen. Gattaca's is high rate. As a matter of fact, behind me, oh, you can't see it. Behind me, I've got a big square black table, a coffee table, and I decided to cut a big piece of plexiglass, and underneath the plexiglass, I have old DVD and VHS covers cut out underneath it, so it's all like movies and things that I'm interested in. And Gattaca, of course, is underneath it. So yeah, it's like a coffee table thing. I turn because this is our entertainment movie room and such behind me. So I've got my standees, but even behind that, if you've got a good eye, you can see even the curtain in the background is a Wonder Woman curtain, so material, and I've got stuff framed and things like that. Juice, you mean chopping some extra leg in so you can grow a few inches. Yeah, they did that. They did that in Gattaca. All right. What are some other great stories with using piracy in space? Oh, also, if 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 you're going to have pirates in space, you got to be able to take the stuff and take it from A to B. So you're going to have finding what you need to steal is going to be its own issue. So despite the fact that we think space is small, it's also very large. So when we have starships in space, much like submarine warfare and how it's navigated, space is so large and empty that any starship in space is going to be recognized as something. Every starship trail and engine signature and size of the ship is going to be classified in some kind of way, and even for no other reason than to keep track of space debris in the first place. So watching out for space debris and knowing where starships are at are actually one and the same, because every starship is a projectile in space. Every starship under power is much like an asteroid or a meteorite or a comet or anything floating in space, moving under its own volition or not. You got to watch out for it. So much like submarines can be detected by their signature, starships would. Well, that means that pirates may be able to easily detect what kind of starships are out there, and then from there extrapolate what kind of value they can get from them. But it may be difficult to get to them, much like two needles trying to find each other in space. So going after and figuring out how to go after those ships is going to be the other issue. How much fuel do you burn? So pirates may need to use other methods to capture other starships, emergency beacons, um, um, knowing what kind of ship and crew is on the craft they want to go after, creating a situation that will draw them in so that they slow down, change their course, intercede another course, something like that, that will make them diverge. Maybe there is a fake, maybe the pirates are able to send a fake signal out that makes it seem like the space rangers are patrolling to the north of a certain axis, so the crew goes to the south, going into the net that the pirates have set up. Yeah. What about a tiny little space sailboat with no engine signature? Now, that's another way that starships may be able to hide, by using solar sails, maybe solar sails and laser pushing systems, or turning their engines off and whatnot, which also means that it might be instead of your engines being under constant acceleration to create that 1.0 gravity or whatever, maybe they do like a squirt where they turn their engines on, change direction, then turn them off, then turn their engines on in a different direction, accelerate, and then turn them off. So it might be like just little what I call insta spurts, maybe for an hour or two, and then they shut them off and drift for 3 weeks and then go a different direction. That may mean that they have to have enough resources to not move under constant acceleration, or though I don't know how powerful galactic winds are, but if technology is enough, maybe those giant sized solar sails could pick up like um, galactic energy and manipulate themselves. And of course, we have gravity slinging as well. So maybe slinging around Saturn can get them in a trajectory to sling around um, Jupiter to get themselves to, go into an elliptic orbit towards the sun without having to burn fuel, which would be kind of cool. Also, we don't know, maybe pirates want to capture other starships so that the pirates hide their own signature. So the pirates go to a ship, board it, only to get the captain to go in the direction they want, because the pirates have latched on their ship next to or within the other ship to use their fuel instead of the pirates using their so it could be hiding basically in the flame tail of another ship, or attaching like lampreys onto a whale, right, where we see the whale, but we got to get closer to see the lampreys attached to the flesh. And so now it might not be parasitic. Maybe there is a faction that made a deal with pirates to say, hey, listen, you're privateers, you're not going to go against us, but what we'll do is we'll take you around the Jove by hiding you within the signature of our ships, just to get you out of our system, to leave us alone. And that might be some kind of extortion as well, where the pirates are like, all right, listen, we've got 3 craft, and the faction is like, 3? You're wasting our fuel. And they're like, listen, we got a deal. We haven't touched any of your craft in like 7 cycles, or whatever the case might be, right? So that may be something else the players may be going after, or the players have to, like Han Solo sticking onto the Star Destroyer. Exactly. Maybe the players themselves are hiding from the space rangers that are going to arrest them, or the players are hiding from other pirates and hiding in the flame tail of other starships, whether that starship wants them to hide there or not. And when I say hiding in the flame tail, like, for example, maybe, okay, there's a couple ways to go about this. One is there's an agreement. 1 or more starships attached to the outer skin of another starship, and they just move along like the space shuttle being attached to the giant tanks of energy used to take the space shuttle, just attached to the side. It could be that the pirates are paralleling a ship, and basically like, we're not going to attack you, but we're going to follow you. And the giant starship that they're following is like, please leave us alone. Much like a skateboarder holding onto the bumper of a car, like, get off of our tail, right? There could be something like that. Maybe they try to outrun the pirates and they're trying to keep up just so that their engine signature isn't detected or something. Yes, Shay says, wouldn't some sort of space trebuchet be enough to get you going without an engine? As a matter of fact, I believe it exists. That there is something. What's the name of it? Damn it. Space launch spin system. Come on, I know I can find it. Spin launch is what it's called. Spin launch. All right. Spin launch, and I know there's some images here, and it looks wild. And there is there's video of how the spin launch is used. I'll show this up here. So spin launch. If I can, let me see if I can find one of these images that is large enough. Okay, and CNBC. Here we go. Spin launch. So there it is, off to the right of my forehead. So spin launch basically is a vacuum centrifuge, and spins a rocket with a piercing head, spins it at high speed in a vacuum, and then the top opens up and it punches through material because there's material in the way to keep it as a vacuum and to launch things into space without an engine. And this is real technology. And let me show you the rocket pod. If it's hard to see it, it's really hard to see it, but I'm going to use the finger and put it at the very tip of the of the launching mechanism, and I believe this is a tungsten tip. Super high impact, needle sharp, and then of course humans can't be. Well, you could launch a human once using that system, but yeah, it's called spin launch, and it's real. Yeah. They want to make one that's as tall as the Statue of Liberty. I'm not sure. Or they could use a pulse drive. The drive runs at 1/10 of a second every 10 seconds, like a pulse drive. Yep, yeah, dead man. I think that'd be a good way to hide or have an unpredictable engine trail or something like that. Shit, Lord, it's like funny how long we've made it without bringing up space drugs. Too late, you already did, right? Yeah, and Drew says, "Isn't that the nonsense that Thunderfoot is debunked?" I don't know how debunkable the technology is. I mean, there was a real. Let's just say that there are real documentaries documenting how it's used and its use and such. Now, whether it's actually practical or not, I don't know. Meaning like the space trebuchet, yeah, flip, 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 the toss you in space. I wonder if, follow me on this. I wonder if you could play space catch to get around the piracy. So what I mean is you get your merchandise, your vehicles, whatever the case might be, and you launch them from place to place, and someone on the other end who knows the trajectory of what you're sending catches it to then throw it somewhere else, right? And we're talking galactic scale throwing and catching. So a like a magnetic accelerator could launch goods and things from a moon or whatever, or even off of a starship. We don't really think about starships magnetically accelerating their cargo, but that could be a way to send things to get them around the, at very high speeds to get them around the piracy thing. And maybe it's very difficult to pirates to both find out where they are and then match speed and steal it, but that might be a thing as well. Oh, Drew says they fired that thing, but it is nonsense to get proper stuff in space because they have to spin it up to such high speeds that it would pretty much destroy most sensitive objects we would need in space. So I get that part, but I think it could be used if it was in zero gravity or light gravity. Like if they built it on the moon or built it on Mars, if it existed in space, they could magnetically or accelerate something and then launch that object if it was in space. So I think the technology is there. I think what you're saying is they debunk the idea that they could actually do it. Caligula says, so something like a cloaking device is totally fanciful, isn't it? I'm taking the position that yes, a button you press to turn invisible is not a real thing in hard science fiction. Now, people are working on invisibility is constantly being worked on, and in some different ways we have invisibility, and we've been using invisibility since the beginning of time. So camouflage, making people believe something is something else, like dressing in different clothing. So we have methods of cloaking ourselves, but we just think of them as very mundane. I think the same rules would apply in space. So I don't know, I'm just making this up. A giant-sized vacation liner could be disguised, but it's really a military vehicle or a piracy vehicle, right? Or of course, hiding cargo in some other kind of ship that people would ignore is another way. Pirates stealing the engines off of other ships and using the other ship's engines to send a signature, even though the pirate ship isn't what it seems to be. So maybe Mars has warships. They assault the warship, break the engines off, leave the crew stranded, steal the engines, use those engines to send a Mars warship signature, even though the pirate ship isn't a warship, right? So there's stuff like that. Yeah, in a transhuman world, couldn't you turn off other people's eyes? Oh hell yeah, yeah. It brains is digital information, and especially anything that we use sensors for. If you have a modern day car, how many times has a car broken down not because something went wrong in terms of the mechanical functioning of a thing, but it was the sensor that detected something wrong that made the thing fail, not the thing failing itself. So like for example, I've had cars where oxygen sensors have went out and you have to replace the oxygen sensors because the oxygen sensor went out, not because it detected something wrong with the oxygen fuel mix, right? Because that's what it's used for. So yeah, it says, but you need to turn off the eyes of the space police. So there is a thing like maybe before a starship is even detected, there are sensor probes to do the detecting itself. Turn them off and you get free passage, right? It's not that other people won't see you, it's that the sensors don't detect you, so there's no reason for people to look out in space and see where you are, which is good and bad, because if you are detected, the authorities will automatically know why you're traveling. Like, you shut down our network of sensor relays, therefore you're definitely doing something wrong. But if you have someone on the inside who's able to, I don't know, do a maintenance check on the sensor relays, or is able to disrupt the information or put a virus into the system that's able to hack the programs and whatnot. So all of that is building into like a piracy, like little far more intricate than we want it to be. But to me, that's a feature. That's not a terrible thing. I know there's some players that are like, that's too complicated, but I think that's a great idea. Like, all right, listen, we need to steal. There's ice haulers stealing that captured a comet, and we need that. We need that ice comet for our people to survive. So the players are like, listen, we need to get the ice comet. This major corporation has dominated the spaceways, getting comets from the Oort cloud and or from, I don't know, orbiting Saturn and stealing it for themselves. And we need that to save our people. All right. So here's what we need. We need an inside man to go in and or send a virus or a computer virus backdoor to shut down the sensor systems to get through the system. Also, we need to hide our engine signature. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy a black market engine that was taken from the space yards on Mars, and we're going to use that, even though it's going to be strapped to the outside of our starship. We're going to use that as an engine signature to keep in even more of the authorities away. And it's only going to be useful for a couple of months, but we're just going to dump it when we're done. And then, and so on and so forth. So I like the idea. Then we're going to turn off the engines and use gravity propulsion to sling ourselves around Saturn to get ourselves lined up to get straight to Mars, because we know that Jupiter is going to be on the backside of the orbital ring in the Copernican system, and blah blah blah. Right. So I think the difficulty of using hard science fiction is a feature. So that's just me. Deadman says there is technology to simulate a cloaking device in degrees. Yep. Thermal cloaks, visual cloaks, and radar cloaks are possible, along with thermal, visual, thermal camouflage make invisibility conceivable in various layers, right? Like, there's no one technology where you press a button and have a cloak. It's like skins and thermal disruptions and like thermal cloaking, where you are able to dissipate the heat off of your starships and things. I think a lot of that, stacking those things together, would be awesome. Because just imagine, you maybe a moon around Neptune, they use thermal sensors, but a habitat around Mars uses more of a radar system, and the players may have to negotiate or figure out, okay, we can't afford both. So what are we going to do? Like, well, we can always hyper accelerate and outrun any authorities around Neptune, because they're not going to come after us, but we're definitely going to need to skin our ship in anti-radar materials, right? and then figuring out which is more important and how much those materials cost. Does that mean their ship is going to have to go under the gun of some kind of black marketeers who now know that your ship is going to be cloaked, and maybe they throw something in your ship that you weren't unbeknownst to you, so they can track you and then sell that tracking information to somebody else and stuff like that. So yeah, Deadman, I think you're absolutely right that overall the acquisition of everything to turn your ship invisible may be difficult but possible, but unlikely, right? So there may I'm imagining every technology has itself a counter technology. So like in Obsidian Star, you got Razor technology. Razor Tech is X-ray and gamma ray radiation uses technology. So something that reflects X-rays or stops X-rays is one thing. Something that stops radio waves, maybe not exactly sound waves because it doesn't go into space, but light and lasers, infrared, ultraviolet. What are some other things? Gravity, disruptions. Oh man, my brain is going. Anyway, electromagnetic energy is another one. Of course, radiation, because I just said radiation, X-ray and gamma rays and radiation. I'm sure there's other signatures that are out there that people can detect that you could disrupt some kind of way. Yeah, maybe there is a hidden enclave of scientists that have that technology and are selling it to the highest bidder. Maybe the criminal organizations that are like, yeah, we've got true cloaking devices because we have our own set of scientists working that we've gathered together, air quotes, kidnapped for our own uses or something. Pirates could also steal data. So piracy could be one where they're stealing or infiltrating or trading or copying or inserting information from one place to another. So a pirate might go onto a starship for no other reason than to download their nav system or download some hidden information. Maybe there are people talking about, let's go like William Gibson. Maybe there are neuromancers or what have you, or what's the other one? Like Johnny Mnemonic, right? Maybe there are individuals who carry information in their head so that it is air gapped, and pirates know that that the information is air gapped. There's no way to beam a viral thing onto a starship. We have to connect directly to it, and maybe even that's not enough. Maybe it's inside the brain of somebody that they're going there to download the information from that person directly, like plugging something in their brain and then getting out of there, or stealing information or something. Or heck, just turning someone's starship into a brick. Just brick the system and leave, and now they're stuck. They can't even reboot it, or they steal their backups or what have you. Stealing nav systems may lead to other resources. So maybe many factions around the solar system are hiding water, oxygen, fuel, so that when they travel out, they have a place to refuel, re-up their systems, and pirates are stealing that stuff. Like, yeah, that heavily mined asteroid that everyone thinks is empty and there's no really good resources. Maybe those cavities are filled with food and water and DNA, what have you. I don't know, robots that are folded up and able to be used, weapons and things like that. And pirates are trying to find that stuff as well. Nomadic communities doing the same thing. So, but anyway, guys, I wanted to be a proponent for piracy over war, because war is good, but it's also very simple. And when I say war, I don't mean like two planets going after each other or an invasion. I'm just talking about combat. I guess I should have put combat, but whatever. That, like the thumbnail shows, there's a ship being destroyed. That's not necessarily a good thing for anybody for any reason. Despite the fact that it may be necessary to do that, it may be someone destroying a starship uses it as cover to escape. Like, hey, fire a torpedo at that ship, get it destroyed, and that'll keep our enemies away. as they batten down the hatches because they know they're going to be impacted by shrapnel from the explosion, and then we just jet our way out of there, like throwing a smoke grenade or frag grenade behind you to get the enemy away from you. So that may be a situation as well. So yeah, war is good. Did I say that? It's fun in a tabletop role playing setting because it looks cool. But I think the greater stories that we could use might be something maybe far more intricate. Yeah, sure. Does it burn a couple of brain cells to get us to think about it? Yes, but listen, we're tabletop role players. We're brilliant. We're storytellers in our heart, and yeah, no, let's not sell ourselves short. So, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much. I will be. I hope to really show you guys some of the um, the video footage that I'm going to collect from the eclipse that's going to happen here. Great eclipse. Yeah, yeah. War is overpopulated. Hasn't kept overpopulation under control. Although it has pushed technology, it unfortunately war does push tech. So yeah, yeah, yes. Not Eclipse Phase, Eclipse Ohio. I thought about getting a shirt that has the date on it too, but I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, me too. There, all of you. Thank you very much for being here, spending your valuable time. Thank you so much. I hope we can make some change in your storytelling experiences and your tabletop role playing games and just in life in general. So, guys, thank you so much. Um, just as a side note, just for some cleanup, please check out Table Talk with Heath. There was a big party for the release of the Heroine's Labyrinth book. I think is really cool. Yeah. Yeah, have fun working, normies. Yeah, yeah. And I'm getting to the end of my career as a normie. I've got 4.5 years before I retire, and I can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait another minute. So, guys, thank you so much. We're going to take us out with a little bit of Obsidian Star place cards, but you guys have a great one. We're going to go back and forth between. We are going to do Obsidian Star twice a week. I'm thinking of doing it like Tuesday, Thursdays, where we talk in about the game itself specifically. I know Taste really wants that to happen, and we'll do that specifically. And then other thing, yeah, and then other. We're going to go back into television shows and movies. So it's going to be like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. And I think we can have some fun with that. So yeah, we'll do Obsidian Star. I think we have like La Femme Nikita is waiting for us. Andromeda is waiting for us. V is another one. Space Final Conflict. Shitlord is like only twice a week. Well, technically we've been talking about it each day, but I need to show progress. And if I don't give myself an artificial time limit, I might work on it forever. So I need a time limit and getting stuff done. And yes, down in the doobly-doo, there will be D12 lists because it'll challenge me to keep my mind going. So we'll do things like that as well. So that's just to give back to the community without them having to pay for something. So if you go in the doobly-doo on YouTube, hopefully it'll show up on Twitch. I don't know if it will. There'll be a D12 list down there, and you could just copy and paste it if you want to, or whatever, or reference it, or I don't care what you do with it. Go ahead and steal it. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.